Answer on this one should be B. Answer is A. Answer is B. Answer should be A. Pick a number from 1 to 20. The winning numbers today are 1, 4, 9, 12, 17. Bring up your homework. We had 7 out of 12 today for 58%. Number 1 is square root of 6 over 4. 2 is 5 square root of 3 over 18. 3 is 5 square root of 5 over 2. 4 is 9 over 14. 5 is square root of 3 over 2. 6 is 5 square root of 30 over 24. 7 is 3. 8 is 3 square root of 3. 9 is 3 square root of 6 over 8. 10 is 4 square root of 6 over 9. 11 is 13 square root of 5 over 25. 12 is 14. 13 is 11 square root of 15 over 6. 14 is 9 square root of 10 over 20. 15 is 5 square root of 2 over 6. The objective today is to simplify radical expressions. Here's a quick review before we do the first two examples. A difference of two squares is something we've had a test over already. A plus b, a minus b simply ends up being a squared minus b squared. Remember that when you multiply these two quantities together, it's a times a times the minus b times a, and b times minus b. But minus ab plus ab cancel out. That's why the answer is a squared minus b squared. Whenever you see two quantities that are the same but they have different signs, you square the first term, you square the second term, and put a minus sign in between. If I had x plus 2 and x minus 2, I would come up with an answer of x squared minus 4 because I square the x, square the 2, and put a minus sign in the middle. It follows the pattern of this: a plus b, a minus b, x plus 2, x minus 2. And remember, it turns out to be a squared minus b squared. We squared this to get x squared, and we squared this to get 4. It's always going to be minus. What if I had x plus 4, x minus 4? What would the answer be?
X squared minus 16.
X squared minus 16? What if it were x minus 10, x plus 10? X squared minus 100. What if I had 3 plus the square root of 2 and 3 minus the square root of 2? What is the square of 3? 3 squared. 9.
Oh, okay.
3 squared is 9. What happens when I square the square root of 2?
It becomes square root of 4,
Which is 2. 9 minus 2 is what? 7 is the answer. We squared the 3 to get 9. We squared this to get the number underneath of that sign. You get an answer of 7. 7 minus the square root of 3, 7 plus the square root of 3. 7 squared is what? 49. What is square root of 3 squared? 3. What's the answer? We squared the 7 to get 49. We squared this to get 3. The answer comes out to be 46. 8 plus the square root of 6, 8 minus the square root of 6. What's the square of 8?
60.
And what's the square root of 6? What's the final answer?
58.
We squared this to get 64 and this to get 6. It's always going to be minus in the middle. Your answer should be 58. On this problem, we have to get rid of the square root that's on the bottom. But like last week, we had square roots that were multiplied against something, so we had to multiply the top and the bottom by that square root only. But in this case, it's connected to another number. In this case, you would have to multiply the top and the bottom by 2 plus the square root of 2. Whatever it is on the bottom, you're going to multiply the top and the bottom by that, but you must change the sign. We are multiplying the top and the bottom by the same thing, so therefore we're not changing the value. This fraction here is simply 1, but we're just simplifying. On the top, you distribute the 4. 4 times 2 is 8. And 4 times the square root of 2 is 4 square root of 2. On the bottom, you do what we just did to practice before we got to the example. You have this quantity times this one. The only difference between the two is that one is minus, one is plus. So it's a difference of 2 squares. What is 2 squared? What's square root of 2 squared?
2.
4 minus 2 is what?
2.
2. Now before you can declare this your final answer, you have to check. Is the square root of 2 simplified? Can we break it up? No, so we can't touch that. 8, 4, and 2. Is there a number that will come out of 8, 4, and 2? 2 will come out of them. So divide 8 by 2 to get 4. Divide 4 by 2 to get 2. And divide 2 by 2 to get 1. You can never have 1 as the only item in the denominator. So your final answer ends up being 4 plus 2 square root of 2.
So you don't add.
Example 2. You have 5 plus the square root of 3 on the bottom. So you're going to have to multiply the top and the bottom by 5 minus the square root of 3. On the top, you need 3 times 5, which is 15, and then 3 times the square root of 3, which is minus 3 square root of 3. On the bottom, you have the same quantities, except they're different in terms of signs. So it's 5 squared is 25, and square root of 3 squared is 3. You always subtract. 25 minus 3 is 22. Can the square root of 3 be broken up? No. 5, 3, and 22. Is there a number that comes out of all three other than 1? No. That is your final answer. On this problem, you have to multiply the top and the bottom by 4 plus square root of 7, since this is minus. When you do that, you get 24 plus 6 square root of 7 over 16 minus 7 is 9. You can take out a 3 from all of these. You can take out 3 from 24, 6, and 9 to come up with 8, 2, and then a 3. For this problem, multiply the top and the bottom by 4 minus square root of 10. So you'll have 32 minus 8 square root of 10 on the top, and on the bottom it'll be 16 minus 10, which is 6. You can cut all of those in half to come up with 16 minus 4 square root of 10 over 3. Answer on this problem should be A. Answer on this one is D. Answer on this one should be B. Answer on this one is A. Example 3. In this case, the difference between this problem and examples 1 and 2 is that the top has 2 terms in it. Therefore, you must do the following. Your first step is still the same. You multiply the top and the bottom by that bottom quantity except change the sign. So you'll have 4 plus square root of 2 over 4 plus square root of 2. Now, on the top, you have to multiply 2 by 4. 2 by 4 is 8. And then 2 by square root of 2 to get plus 2 square root of 2. Then shift to the square root of 3. Square root of 3 times 4 is going to be plus 4 square root of 3. And then square root of 3 times square root of 2 is going to be square root of 6. On the bottom, square the 4 to get 16. Square this to get 2. 16 minus 2 is 14. 8, 2, 4, 1. There's a 1 there. And then 14. 8, 2, 4, 1, 14. Is there a number other than 1 that comes out of all of them? 8, 2, 4, 1, 14. No. So you're finished. This would be your final answer. Also, you would have to check to make sure square root of 2, 3, and 6 cannot be simplified. And they cannot. Example 4. On this one, you're going to multiply the top and the bottom by 2 minus the square root of 3. When you do that, on the top, it's 5 times 2. That's going to be 10. 5 times the square root of 3. Notice there's a minus there. 5 times the square root of 3 minus 5 square root of 3. Go to the square root of 6. Square root of 6 times 2 plus 2 square root of 6. Square root of 6 times square root of 3. Notice there's a minus. Square root of 6 times square root of 3 is minus square root of 18. On the bottom, 2 squared is 4. This squared is 3. So you end up with a 1. Now check what you have. 10, 5, 2, 1, and 1. Nothing will go into all of those except 1. You have a 1 on the bottom which will go away. You can't have a denominator of 1. This must be simplified. It's the square root of 18. Can't take all that out. There we go. I tried to delete all those white circles, but it did not work. But the square root of 18 can break up as 9 and 2. So square root of 9, square root of 2, that would be 3 square root of 2. And now you're finished. There's nothing more that we're going to do with this right now. So that's your answer. On this problem, multiply the top and the bottom by 2 minus the square root of 2. And on the top, you'll come up with 8 minus 4 square root of 2 minus 2 square root of 3 plus, because double negative, square root of 6. On the bottom, you'll end up with 2 squared is 4. That squared is 2. 4 minus 2 is 2. You have 8, 4, 2, 1, and 2. Can't get anything out of all of those but 1. That would be your final answer.